My husband humiliated me in front of his parents, calling the dinner I served them scraps fit for strays. He was furious I hadn't cooked, but there was a crucial detail he missed. His own father had brought the food. However, the appetizers were the least of our problems. The real bombshell was about to be revealed by a single text message on his phone. "You call this food?" My husband seethed, his voice a venomous whisper after inviting his family for dinner. "My parents aren't strays. Don't feed them scraps." My in-laws froze in place. But a second later, his jaw dropped when I whispered back, "I didn't order this. My name is Sabrina. I am 28 years old, a UX designer on maternity leave, and I once believed my life was unshakably solid. I was married to a man who, at least in the beginning, seemed like the kind of person you build a future with. His name is Luke, and he was the epitome of everything you're told to look for: funny, charming, and supportive. We met through mutual friends during a weekend retreat in the mountains. He could make an entire room roar with laughter, yet he had a way of making me feel like I was the only one there. After 1 year of dating, he proposed during a picnic on the coast. I said yes, without a flicker of hesitation. My parents adored him. His parents, Evan and Vivian, were a portrait of warmth and generosity, welcoming me with open arms. Vivian called me her second daughter, and Evan always arrived with a bottle of wine and a fresh set of jokes. When we married, both our families pitched in for the down payment on a small starter home in the suburbs. I was convinced I had hit the jackpot. Life was good, exceptionally good. Then I got pregnant, and the foundation of our perfect life began to fracture. Luke was thrilled, of course. He said all the right things, promising, "I'm going to be the best dad ever, and I'll work extra to make sure our baby has everything." And he did work extra. He began staying late at his IT job, claiming he was banking overtime. But as my belly swelled, so did the emotional chasm between us. I spun excuses for him in my mind, telling myself this was just his way of showing he cared, that he was stressed. But caring doesn't mean forgetting to ask how your wife is feeling after she's spent the day vomiting, trying to scrub the bathtub without passing out. It doesn't mean turning every shared responsibility into a solo performance. When I was working, we split the chores evenly. Once I became pregnant, Luke insisted on taking over. For a short time, he cooked, did the laundry, and even rubbed my feet when I was too sore to stand. But the more he worked late, the less he contributed at home, and eventually, every task defaulted back to me. It was as if my pregnancy had rendered me invisible. At 6 months, I combined my paid leave with my maternity leave. I was grateful for the break, but I grossly underestimated how difficult it would be to be home alone all day, sick, hormonal, and still trying to maintain a spotless house. Luke, meanwhile, seemed to believe I was living a life of leisure. One evening, he came home earlier than usual. I was sprawled on the couch, a vessel of exhaustion, and hadn't yet started dinner. The moment he walked in, his brow furrowed. "You're just lying there?" I sat up, rubbing my temple. "I've been nauseous all afternoon. I just needed a minute." Luke dropped his bag and glared toward the kitchen. "You've been home all day, Sabrina. There's nothing ready. I work 10 hours and come home to this." I blinked, incredulous. "I'm growing a human being, Luke. I'm doing my best." "Oh, here we go," he muttered, grabbing a drink from the fridge. "You always play the 'I'm pregnant' card when you don't want to do anything." The word struck me like a physical blow. "Are you kidding me right now?" He looked back at me, his face hard. "No, I'm not. You've checked out. You're not working. You barely do anything around here anymore." My throat tightened. "So, what do you want from me? A wife or a full-time maid?" Luke shook his head as if I were being overly dramatic. "I want you to stop acting like carrying a baby gives you a free pass." There were no tears, no raised voices. I simply stood, walked past him, and said, "I'm going to stay with my parents. I need space. I need peace." His response was chillingly indifferent.
"Fine.
Do whatever you want." And so I did. I packed a suitcase that night. My dad picked me up the next morning, and we didn't speak a word during the drive. He just squeezed my hand as we pulled into their driveway. My mom had already prepared the guest room, placing lavender lotion on the nightstand. I felt safe. 2 weeks melted into 3. I sent Luke a single update about the pregnancy, but he never responded. It stung, but it didn't surprise me. I had expected the cold shoulder. Then, out of the blue one afternoon, my parents opened the front door to find Evan and Vivian standing on the porch. I was in the living room folding baby clothes when my mom called out, "Sabrina, you have visitors." I froze. Vivian stepped inside, her face a canvas of concern, while Evan clutched a paper bag of groceries, looking equally uncomfortable. "We're so sorry," Vivian said immediately. "We had no idea what was happening." "Luke never told us you left," Evan added. "We stopped by your place, and when you weren't there, we pressed him until he finally admitted it." I'm embarrassed to say we thought everything was fine. I sat down slowly, at a loss for words. Vivian leaned in, her voice low. "Sabrina, I know you're going through a lot. I remember what pregnancy was like, and I just want you to know you don't have to go through it alone." They stayed for over an hour, offering apologies, sharing stories of Luke's childhood, and even telling a few bad dad jokes. I smiled politely, but inside I was torn. Luke wasn't just absent. He had been cruel. But maybe, just maybe, this visit was a sign that someone in his family still possessed compassion. A few days later, Luke appeared on my parents' porch. No call, no text. He just rang the bell as if nothing had happened. When I opened the door, he looked utterly exhausted. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have said what I said. I didn't mean to make you feel alone." I crossed my arms. "You didn't make me feel alone, Luke. You left me alone." He looked down at his feet. "I know. I was overwhelmed, stressed. But I want to fix this." I wanted to believe him. I told him I would come back, but only after the baby was born. I refused to let stress dominate my final trimester. He agreed, or at least he said he did. Lily was born on a rainy morning in early October after 14 grueling hours of labor. My mother held my hand through the final pushes because Luke was, characteristically, on his way, caught in traffic after working late the night before. He arrived just in time to hear our daughter's first cry. I'll never forget the look on his face, raw, shaken, and teary-eyed. For a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to believe that things were going to be different. We brought Lily home, wrapped in a floral blanket and a fragile sense of hope. The first few days passed in a blur of diapers, tiny hiccups, and visitors bearing casseroles. Luke was tender and attentive at first, cradling Lily as if she were made of glass and kissing my forehead as I drifted in and out of sleep. But his phone became a constant, buzzing intruder. Even during feedings, even while I cried in the shower from pain and exhaustion, he was answering Slack messages, insisting he just needed to stay in the loop. By week 2, he was back at work full-time. That's when reality truly crashed down. Lily had colic. She screamed for hours every night and wouldn't latch properly. I was pumping between feedings just to keep up. I was bleeding, leaking, sweating through 2 shirts a night, and hadn't slept for more than 2 hours in a row for days. Luke would step over burp cloths on the floor, kiss Lily once on the head, and say, "You've got this, babe," as he left with a travel mug in hand. I didn't have this. I was drowning. He started coming home later again, sometimes past 9 o'clock, and when he did walk in, he expected dinner. I tried, I really did. But some nights I was too weak to stand. One night, after a particularly brutal evening, I fell asleep holding Lily in the rocker. I woke up to find her finally passed out, my shirt soaked with milk. I stumbled to the kitchen, reheated some soup, and left it on the stove for Luke. He walked in, looked around, and raised an eyebrow. "Soup again?" I blinked at him. It's the best I could do. She hasn't stopped crying since noon. He offered a tight smile. "You know my parents are coming next Saturday, right? I'd appreciate it if you actually planned something decent." "I didn't forget," I said. "But Vivian already texted me. She said I shouldn't stress about food." Luke snorted. "That's just her being polite. I don't want them thinking you can't manage a simple lunch." I didn't reply. That week was pure chaos. Lily's sleep worsened. I was running on caffeine and dry shampoo. The night before the visit, I attempted to cook a pasta bake, but Lily had a meltdown halfway through, and I had to abandon it. By morning, I was shaking from exhaustion. Luke left early, his parting words a final twist of the knife. "Remember, no store-bought junk. I want my mom to think we've got it together." As if we hadn't already fallen apart the second he walked out the door. Desperate, I called a local gourmet deli and ordered an artisan appetizer spread. Marinated olives, rosemary, focaccia, truffle hummus, prosciutto, imported cheeses, handcrafted crackers. I even picked up a bouquet of tulips from the corner florist. As I started arranging the food, the doorbell rang. I opened it to see Vivian and Evan on the porch, beaming.
Surprise?
Vivian said, holding a bottle of white wine. Evan raised a bag. We figured you could use reinforcements. I almost cried with relief. They came in and immediately took over. Vivian scooped up Lily as if she'd been waiting all week for that moment. Evan opened the wine and started unpacking the food he'd brought, store-bought appetizers from the very same deli I had used. I told them what I had ordered, and Vivian laughed. Perfect. We're having a feast. Honestly, I wish someone had done this for me when Luke was born. She noticed the dark circles under my eyes. You haven't slept, have you? Not really, I admitted. Then you go lie down.
Now.
We've got Lily. We've got the food. Go. I didn't argue. I lay down on the couch, the sounds of Lily gurgling, Evan humming softly, and Vivian cooing over her granddaughter, lulling me to sleep. I drifted off almost immediately. I woke to the sound of keys in the door, followed by his voice. Sabrina, are you seriously sleeping right now? I sat up, groggy and startled. Luke stood in the entryway, holding the deli platter I had prepped. What are these? You bought appetizers? Are you kidding me? My chest tightened. What are you talking about? He looked disgusted. I asked you to cook. My parents are here, and this is what you give them. He shook his head and started toward the kitchen. I'll throw this crap away and make something myself. Wait, Luke. Your dad brought those.
He stopped. What?
I stood up. Your parents brought those. I didn't order them. He turned slowly, his eyes narrowing. You're lying. Before I could speak again, a voice cut through the room like a blade. She's not lying. Evan stood in the doorway, a glass of wine in hand. Vivian was right behind him, holding Lily. You bought those appetizers? Luke asked, clearly thrown. Evan walked forward.
Yes.
Vivian picked them out. I paid. We figured Sabrina would be exhausted, so we wanted to help. Luke's jaw tightened.
Oh.
I just thought. You didn't think. Evan snapped. Vivian's voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. You just assumed. And you insulted your wife in front of your daughter. Luke's face went pale. He tried to laugh it off, but Evan wasn't smiling. I thought you had grown up after what happened before the baby was born, but it looks like you're still the same entitled kid who thinks everyone exists to serve him. Luke looked at me, then back at his parents.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know. You didn't ask, Vivian said. You just yelled. A heavy silence settled over the room. Then Luke's phone, left charging on the dining table, buzzed twice. Vivian, closest to it, instinctively glanced at the screen. Her face froze, then hardened into a mask of cold fury. She picked it up. Who's Julia? Luke's eyes widened. Mom, he started, but she held up the phone and read aloud. You left your sweatshirt and lighter here. Can't wait for next time. My heart plummeted.
What?
What is that? Luke stood rigidly, a man caught in an avalanche. His mother held up his phone, her hand perfectly steady, though her voice quivered with controlled rage. You want to explain this? The screen was still glowing for everyone to see. Everyone except Lily, who was asleep in her bassinet, blissfully unaware that her father was unraveling. Luke shifted his weight. It's not what you think. Vivian narrowed her eyes. Then explain it. It's just a message from someone at work. It's not serious. His father stepped forward. Luke, are you having an affair? He didn't answer. The silence stretched until it snapped. I turned to him, my voice steady. How long? He swallowed. Since you went to stay with your parents. I didn't mean for it to go that far. We were fighting. I was lonely. Evan's voice was dangerously low. She was pregnant with your daughter. What kind of man leaves his pregnant wife and pretends he's putting in overtime while meeting another woman? His mother stared at him as if he were a stranger. We trusted you. We defended you. You were gone. Luke snapped at me. You just left. I left to survive, I said, stepping forward. You think I wanted to go? You made this house unbearable. You made me feel like a burden for being pregnant with your child. He ran a hand through his hair.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it didn't mean anything. Her name's Julia, right? I asked, my tone flat. Luke's mouth dropped open. How? Your phone lit up while you were too busy accusing me of laziness. Vivian's hands fell to her sides. You said you wanted to fix things, that you wanted to be better. But you came here, insulted your wife, lied again, and now this. Luke opened his mouth, but Evan raised his hand. Don't. His father turned to me. Do you want him out? Yes, I said without hesitation. Tonight. Luke's jaw dropped. You're kicking me out of my own house? You forfeited your place here, I said. I won't share a roof with someone who disrespects me in front of my child. Evan nodded, walked down the hall, and returned moments later with a duffel bag, setting it firmly at Luke's feet. You'll stay with us until this is resolved. Luke looked at his mother for support. Mom. Vivian's response was simple and devastating. You're our son, but that doesn't make you right. I picked Lily up and walked to the nursery as they escorted him out of the house. I didn't look back. 3 days later, the doorbell rang. It was Vivian and Evan, holding a manila folder. He signed everything, Evan said as he walked in. We didn't let him argue. Vivian placed the folder on the table. Full custody, divorce terms, child support, clean and simple. Then she handed me a white envelope. I hesitated. It's from us, she said softly. So, you don't have to struggle because of what he did. Inside was a check generous enough to give me breathing room for months. I can't take money from you. You're not, Evan said. You're taking it from people who believe in protecting the innocent. Vivian added, he's going to repay every penny. We've taken over his salary and expenses. No more online orders, no more credit cards. He gets a weekly allowance just enough to get to work and eat. That's all. And Lily's trust? I asked. We'll make sure it gets paid every month on time. If not, he'll answer to us. The documents weren't just legal. They were merciful. They were my freedom. I signed them that afternoon.
Luke never contacted me.
I later found out Julia had ghosted him the moment the divorce became public. Word spread at his office, and HR reassigned him to internal administrative work. No bonuses, no promotion track. He moved into a basement-level unit near the bus line. Vivian texted me on the 1st of each month to confirm the child support deposit. She never missed one. Lily and I stayed with my parents until spring. My mom helped with bottle feeds in the middle of the night. And my dad fixed up my old childhood room. There was always soup, clean towels, and laughter in that house, even on days when I couldn't laugh myself. When I returned to work, my boss welcomed me back with a flexible schedule and no questions asked. My colleagues left sticky notes on my desk that said things like, "You've got this," and one meeting at a time. I found a small 2-bedroom apartment near a park with soft light and quiet mornings. Lily's room is filled with secondhand picture books and oversized stuffed animals that she insists on lining up like sentinels around her crib. One afternoon, while she was napping, I stood in the kitchen and realized the silence felt good. It wasn't empty anymore. It was mine. Sometimes friends ask if I miss being married. I tell them, no. I miss the version of myself I imagined I'd become. I miss the fairy tale I held on to for too long. But the marriage? I don't miss apologizing for being exhausted. I don't miss cleaning while holding back tears. I don't miss being made to feel like a failure for not cooking a hot meal on 2 hours of sleep. I don't miss Luke. People ask if I regret anything. Yes, I regret shrinking. I regret softening every edge of myself to avoid conflict. I regret making excuses for a man who didn't deserve them. But I don't regret walking away. I don't regret choosing peace over pretending. I don't regret packing a bag, taking my daughter, and never looking back. And I definitely don't regret saying, this ends here. Because it did. And I'm still here, still standing, and finally free.